This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good. So we have a lot of wonderful updates from many of us. Moving ahead, everyone's moving ahead nicely. Thank God. And yeah, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. We have the mikveh date for Esther and for you. Good, Mary, and hopefully for Tara also. So good. Pretty soon I go out of business. I'll have to take up bowling, tennis. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. We'll see. I'll find something to do. Yeah. It goes. It comes in waves. Actually, that's how I've seen it. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, yeah, 'cause it's kind of amazing that we're all like joined in on this.
Yeah.
Through it together.
So what are you gonna do? It's just gonna be you and me.
That'll be great.
Gonna be gone.
That'll be great. That'll be great. That'll be great. I'll learn a thing or two. It'll all be good.
I know, right?
Okay, so let's focus now on, we've been working on the Siddur, so we'll do a little bit of the Siddur, but we'll do that in the context of, thank you, Yoshi, we'll do that in the context of the 3 weeks and the 9 days and Tisha B'Av, okay? Because that's tonight is Rosh Chodesh. Is that right? Yes. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh. I landed around 12:30 today, so I'm still a little bit out of sorts.
Okay.
But yes, tonight and tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh Av. So tell me about the 3 weeks, guys. The 3 weeks begins with which date? 17th of Tammuz. And what is significant of the on the 17th of Tammuz?
See, when the Beis Hamikdash.
No, it was the beginning when the walls of the Jerusalem was.
When the walls were breached. Good. The walls of Jerusalem were breached. Okay. What else happened on the 17th day of Tammuz? Very, very famously. The tablets were broken, right? Remember that? 2 stones, right? We have this tablet stones being broken and the stone walls of Jerusalem being breached, okay? And that ushers in the period known as the 3 weeks, okay? And what happens during these 3 weeks? Well, they're called Bein HaMitzarim, which is between, hello, Mary, good to see you. Between the what? The straits, right? Mitzar means a confinement, right? There are times that Klal Yisrael, we the Jewish people, have been open and wide, and there are times that we've been confined. Please God, at some point, if you haven't yet, all you guys will visit Israel, and we'll go to Yad Vashem. And Yad Vashem has been redone. I mean, I remember from decades ago, but more recently, the past probably 15 years, 10 years, it's been redone. And basically, in addition to all of the information they have there, you go basically going from area to area to area, and you feel that you're getting confined and
It's like Western kosher.
Oh, excuse me 1 second.
You sure? Is it conflict of interest? I don't know. No.
He was gone. Oh. Oh, another like open area.
Yeah.
So your feet sit.
I got my little skull thing going.
Keep going. It's like are you not going to think that you're ordering this fast?
Yeah, listening.
This conference will now be recorded.
The Vein Mitzarim is between the straits. That's the confinement. That's difficult times for the Jewish people, right? And it's not. It's as we've discussed, the Jewish calendar. We go through cycles. We go through cycles, and this is a period of tsar. This is a period of difficulties, right? And it traces back to our setting, with the breaking of the luchos, which of course was the reaction to the golden calf, right? With the breaking of the luchos and Tisha B'Av, right? So that is the date when both temples were destroyed. Okay. And going back to the time of the Torah, what else happened on that night? The spies. Right, the Meraglim. Right, the spies gave over their disastrous report, and instead of listening to Yehoshua, listening to who's the other one who spoke out on behalf? Caleb. Right, instead of listening to Yeshua and Caleb, we followed and we started crying needlessly. Right, so this is a time that was really that we created this zone of tsar, of anguish, of mitzarim, of confinement, and ultimately these will be transformed into days of rejoicing. Okay, when we'll have that ultimate geula, this will be transformed into days of rejoicing. Until then, these 3 weeks and these 9 days and Erev Tisha B'Av and Tisha B'Av are all these periods of heightening mourning that we enter into. Now, what's strange is that we know that when a person is actually in mourning, right? So then the person, what are the stages of actual mourning that a person goes through? There's the stage until the actual burial, where a person is called an onain, okay? And during that time period, a person is exempt from all mitzvah. When I say a person exempt, which people are exempt? For whom do we actually become mourners? There are 7 familial relationships. Sorry?
Father.
Right. 2 going up a generation, mother, father.
Spouse.
Right? Well, 2 going down generation, son or daughter. And 3 parallel generation. What are they? Sister, brother, spouse. Okay? So the very first stage that a person enters is onain. And during that time period, a person is exempt from all the mitzvot, exempt from all the positive mitzvot. It doesn't mean that you can have a pepperoni pizza. Right? It means that all of the don'ts apply, but the do's do not apply. Right? A man's not going to wear tefillin, and there's no brachot. There are no brachot that are made. Before you eat something, you don't make a bracha. Right? All of those things. It's a point where it's a combination of 2 things. On one hand, we need to be totally focused on getting that burial done properly and as quickly as we can. And also, it's a lack of kavod for the mate, for the person who passed away, for us to be just life going on as usual. And the way Rav Soloveitchik explains it is that it's at a point where the pain is so raw that we're not expected to be doing mitzvot. Okay? But then we go into, from the time of burial, then what's that called? The next 7 days? Shiva, right? And we become an Avel, a mourner. Now, it's not really a full 7 days. Why is that, guys? How do we count that time period? So the day of the funeral is day 1, even though that might be in the afternoon, right? So that's day 1. And then day 7, we say Miktsat Hayom Kukulo. Part of the day is like the whole day. So we just do a little bit of the 7th day. So the first day is shortened somewhat of Avelus, right? We're owning that we become an Avel. And then it goes through that day and then full 6 days. And then day 7 is we get up, so to speak, from Shiva in the morning, right? And Shabbos also is, we don't have the outward expressions of Shiva. So that's 7 days. And then, all right, and during that time period, right, so then we don't wear leather shoes, right? Don't wear freshly laundered garments, okay? And then we go from that into the period known as Shloshim. Shloshim is 30 days from the burial. And there we are diminishing these mornings, and we're slowly re-entering. During Shiva, we stay home. We don't go out to work. The Shiva really is like a cocoon around us as we get ourselves ready. Okay, Shiva, right, comes from the word Sheva, which is 7. Right, so we sit Shiva means we sit for those 7 days. Okay, and then the Shloshim, again, we have there we still will still be minimal. There's no washing at all during Shiva. During the Shloshim, it's less luxurious. We're still not buying things, and for everything besides parents, the restrictions end after Shloshim. For parents, it's a full year. They're not going to live concerts or big gatherings.
The Shloshim is for a year?
No, the Shloshim ends after 30 days, but there are aspects of mourning that continue for a full year. Okay, whereas for the other 5 besides parents, it ends after the Shloshim. So in those, yes, Josh.
So can you say Kaddish for those relatives, right?
Okay, good. The obligation to say Kaddish for all relatives is 30 days.
Okay.
For parents, it's a year, but we do it for 11 months. Why is that? So the reason for a year is that the longest time that a person needs to go through that cleansing process of Gehenna is 12 months. We don't want to assume that our parent needs the full 12 months, so we say it for 11 months, okay? For all other relations, it's only 30, relatives, it's only 30 days. However, right, someone should say Kaddish for a full year. So let's say it's a person who, let's say a sibling or child died, right? And there are no children to say Kaddish for the year. So then one of the other relatives would take it upon themselves to say Kaddish for the full 11 months for that person.
Rabbi, what if your relatives aren't Jewish?
Yeah, so in those situations, one can say Kaddish.
Okay.
One can say Kaddish. It's not a full obligation,
Okay.
but one can say Kaddish.
It'll help them?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
our understanding.
Okay.
Yeah. So in those situations, what's happening is we are slowly diminishing our aspects of mourning as we go from Onain to Shiva to Shloshim to the whole. Shloshim means 30, right? So Shiva means 7, Shloshim means 30. So it's kind of a giveaway, right? Right. How long is Shiva? Right? How long is Shloshim? Right? If you speak Hebrew, it's like saying what color was Grant's white horse, right? It's sort of contained right in there, right? As Tisha B'Av, right? What day of the month is Tisha B'Av? Again, well, Tisha B'Av means the 9th day of the month of Av. So it's pretty much right there. You've got the answer, right? If you don't speak Hebrew, it's a little bit more. It's not quite as apparent, right? But if you speak Hebrew and have your numbers down, right? So then it's pretty straightforward. So when it comes to actual Avelus mourning, there we are diminishing. Whereas over here, we are building up. We are building up. Why is this going in reverse directions? Meaning, during the 3 weeks, what restrictions did we have during the 3 weeks?
No cutting hair.
Haircuts, shaving, right? Music,
No shakianos.
right?
Weddings.
No shakianos. Sorry?
No weddings.
No weddings, right? Right? Now we enter the 9 days, so now what's being added on?
No meat.
No meat, no wine, including chicken, right? No washing. Now that's important, right? Now, so we're in the midst of this very serious heat wave going on. Things are pretty hot. Okay, so to remove dirt, we're allowed to wash. If we're sweaty, if we're smelly, you'll pardon me, none of you, right? But right, if we're sweaty, if we're smelly, right, so then we should take a shower. Okay, it shouldn't be a piping hot shower. We're not luxuriating in a bath, right? We're taking a shower. It doesn't need to be ice cold shower, but it should be shorter than usual. It should be a little bit cooler than usual, and we should, we don't want anybody going to the hospital over here. Okay, so we want to, okay, but during the 9 days, no meat, no chicken, no wine. The exception being on Shabbos, right? Havdalah gets a little bit tricky. Why is Havdalah tricky?
Shabbos, is it not Shabbos?
Is it Shabbos? Is it not Shabbos? As Yoshi said, exactly right. Is it Shabbos? Is it not Shabbos? Right? We have that also when it comes to women making Havdalah, right? Because, right, on one hand, the women are obligated in all of the dues of Shabbos, right? Because, right, Shamor v'Zachor b'dibur echad, we sing Friday night in Lechadodi, right? Shamor, right? The Torah in Parshat Yitro in Exodus tells us the 10 Commandments, and then Moshe reiterates what the 10 Commandments were in Devarim, in not this week's Parsha, next week's Parsha. And there are some differences, right? Moshe is doing some paraphrasing of what it was, right? However, right, in the first one it says Zachor, remember or mention the day of Shabbos to make it holy. And then in Devarim it says Shamor, safeguard the day of Shabbos to make it holy. So our sages teach us that God said both simultaneously, that which we are unable to do, right? But Shamor v'Zachor was said simultaneously. Shamor is the don'ts of Shabbos, the 39 malachot, and all of its other aspects. And Zachor is the do of Shabbos. What is the do of Shabbos?
To enjoy.
Yes, but that's not Minat Torah. What is the Torah do of Shabbos? Zachor, mention.
Oh, to remember.
To mention it. So we mention Shabbos on the way in, we mention Shabbos on the way out. How do we mention Shabbos on the way in?
You do Kiddush.
Kiddush, we sanctify it over the cup of wine saying Kiddush. And how do we mention on the way out? Havdalah, right? When an important guest comes, we welcome them in and then we escort them out. Okay? So the women are obligated in Kiddush, equally obligated as men in Kiddush. Why? Because Zachor v'Shamor was said simultaneously. So whoever's obligated in the Shamor, in the don'ts, is obligated in the Zachor, in the do's. Okay? So women are equally obligated. How about Havdalah? So that gets, it's a question, right? Is it still Shabbos? Is it not Shabbos? Right? And that has some interesting halachic ramifications. A woman will not make Havdalah for a man. A woman can make Kiddush for a man. Right? Typically, the man does it, but a woman can make Kiddush for a man. Why? Good, definitely obligated, equally obligated. The same way I can make Kiddush for you, you can make Kiddush, I can make for another man, a man can make for me. So same way I can make for a woman can make for me, equally obligated. When it comes to Havdalah, that's a bit of a problem. That's a bit of a question, right? So a woman would not make Havdalah for a man. Ideally, a man will make Havdalah for a woman, right? Now, we make Havdalah here in Shul. What happened the past 2 weeks? Someone make Havdalah here? Mm-hmm. Good. Who made Havdalah?
Last week.
Nice. Good. Good. So, yeah. So it becomes a bit of a shiloh, though, a bit of halacha question. If a man is here, then and he's going to go home, and it's just his wife and or daughters at home, or kids who are not yet bar mitzvah, so then he should not be yotzei with the havdalah that's made here in shul. Why is that?
Because they need to hear it, the family to hear it from us.
Yeah, because when he gets home, he can't make. I can make a bracha if someone else is fully obligated and needs to hear it. But if I have these people who are all questionably obligated, like the women or the kids, so then I wouldn't make the bracha again. So it's important in such a case, right? If you're here, right, and you're going home, right, unless, well, Jaden will be able to make it. But if you and Jaden are here, right, so I make Havdalah here, so Natalie makes her own Havdalah on a Saturday night, right? Right, so a woman would make Havdalah, even though you might ask, is it Safek Brachos? What's the rule we have? Lahakel. Thank you, Yoshi. Right? If you're unsure about a bracha, you don't make the bracha. But Havdalah for women is an exception. Women will make Havdalah, but ideally they'll hear it from someone else. Okay. How do we get started on this? So on Shabbos we'll have you can eat meat and drink wine, right? Havdalah, though, is a question when it comes to drinking the wine by Havdalah. So ideally, what will you do? Give it to a child who's of chinuch age. You wouldn't give it to London, right? But well, London is the oldest of the young of the younger crew. Yeah. So So if there is a child who is of chinuch age, let's say 6 years old, right? Then that child will drink it. Otherwise, then a person will drink it. Okay, the person making Havdalah will drink it. Okay. So we mentioned meat, we mentioned wine, also laundry. Okay, we don't do laundry during the 9 days. Little kids, right? You can do laundry. You have to. Okay. Okay. We don't wear freshly laundered garments during the 9 days. That does not apply to undergarments. Okay.
Freshly laundered just means that you're just not washing during that time, or is that meaning?
Even if it was washed before, but if it's freshly laundered, it's not yet been worn, right? So then one wouldn't wear that. Okay. On Shabbos,
It's all good.
all good. We dress normally. Okay.
Now, is there a way that if you do have some freshly laundered garments, can you like soil them a little bit?
Yeah.
To make it suitable to wear?
So ideally, one would have. I think the email went out. Yeah, I wanted to get it out before I got back. Right. So you could pre-wear some garments, for like 10, 15 minutes. And now it's no longer freshly laundered. If one hasn't done that, so then yeah, you could put it on the floor, have one kids roll around on it a little bit, right? Make it a little bit less freshly laundered, okay? Right, and then right. So now the restrictions are intensifying as we're going forward. Whereas by a real avel, a real mourner, right, the restrictions keep diminishing. Here we are ramping it up as we're going forward. Okay, why is that? Why are we moving in these opposite directions?
Does it have something to do with like complicity of like we're involved in the events that occurred and like we're kind of more like does that have anything to do with
Oh, that's
that? Not
interesting.
really.
That's an interesting idea, right? So Yoshi is suggesting that when it comes to an avel, right, that was min hashamayim, that was from the heavens that we sustained this loss. But here we're somewhat complicit in it, so it ramps up. That's an interesting idea. That's an interesting thought, Yoshi. Any other ideas out there? So the standard understanding for that is as follows. When it comes to a loss, death in a family, so we had our feet knocked out from beneath us, but we need to get back to life. Okay, it'll be forever changed without that person, but the way I like to put it, we never move on, but we do need to move forward. Okay, we don't move on, but we need to move forward. So the Avelis, that whole structure is this Avelis is this cocoon around us, and only then are we ready for the outside world, and then slowly we re-enter the world, forever changed, but this is the new world that is now our world, and we've got to enter it. So we gradually enter the world. When it comes to an avelus, a mourning over events that took place thousands of years ago, here it's the opposite. Here we've got to feel it. There it's not an issue of how do I feel it. It's how do I not let it consume me. So therefore we gradually re-enter the world, right, with diminishing restrictions. Over here, we've got to feel it. So we build ourselves up to that point, right? We're starting with the 3 weeks, and now we're entering the time period of the 9 days, okay? So we said haircuts. How about nail cutting? Okay, so certainly Lakovid Shabbos it would not be a problem to cut the nails, okay, and to get ready for Shabbos, in honor of Shabbos. So here we're working our way in trying to feel this. And I read a beautiful article by Rav Yaakov Weinberg, that's how it was my Rosh Hashiva, was Masada Kedushin for Natalie and I at our wedding. And, sometimes a person is sick and they don't realize that they're sick, right? That can happen physically, certainly can happen, right, emotionally, psychologically, right? That a person is sick and they don't realize that they're sick. And we are all, in terms of our relationship with God, we're all in a sickened state without a Beit HaMikdash, without a temple. But we are so sickened that we don't even realize, and we think, "Oh, this is Judaism. This is how it's meant to be," right? And we don't realize that we are in this diminished state. So we gradually build up these different aspects. Ooh, so cute. We gradually build up these different aspects our Avelis, of our mourning. Okay, so we have the 9 days. We have Shavua Shechalbo. Now, for Ashkenazim, it's not so relevant. Shavua Shechalbo is the week wherein Tisha B'Av falls out. Ashkenazim, we're a lot more doom and gloom than the Sephardim, right? We're a lot more doom and gloom than the Sephardim. Some say that the Ashkenazic Jews were in a Catholic society, as opposed to the Sephardic Jews who were in a more Muslim society. And Christianity, Catholicism is a lot more, eternal damnation, a lot more doom and gloom, right? And that reflects in some of the customs. So whereas Sephardim, right, some of them won't have meat only during Shavua Shechalbo. Some of them won't have meat only at the Su'udam of Seket. The Su'udam of Seket is on Erev Tisha B'Av, the last meal that you're having before the fast. It shouldn't have meat and wine, right? So, but laundry for Sephardim is only Shavua Shechalbo, only the week wherein Tisha B'Av falls out. So this week, right, this year, right, so Rosh Chodesh is tomorrow, right, so Shavua Shechalbo is next week, Sunday through Thursday. But sometimes you've got, Tisha B'Av on a Monday. Tisha B'Av on a Sunday, there's no Shavua Shechalbo.
You don't have the same restrictions.
Yeah.
It's nothing happening.
Yeah. So there also is the next stage of, like we said, Shavua Shechalbo, which again, for Ashkenazim, it's not so relevant because we've taken on all of the restrictions of Shavua Shechalbo to start already during the full 9 days. Okay. Then we have Erev Tisha B'Av. So that will be next week on Wednesday. And what we'll do then is have what's called the Su'uda Hamafseket. That is the separating. Su'uda means meal, Hamafseket, that separates. Okay? Right? In the laws of family purity, right? So there is the Hefsek Tara, right? The Hefsek Tara is that separation between the days of menstruating and the 7 clean days. Hafsakah for kids going to school. What's Hafsakah? You familiar with the term Hafsakah? Okay, Hafsakah is Hebrew for recess. Okay, so in school often that's called a Hafsakah, right? Because that's an interruption between the studies and the studies. So the Sudam of Second, we have that on Yom Kippur, on Erev Yom Kippur. We have the meal that we have before we go into Yom Kippur, and on Tisha B'Av we have the Sudam of Second, the meal that we have as we are going into Tisha B'Av, and this meal has a certain flavor to it, right? And we sit on the floor during this meal, and we just have two food items at this meal. Typically, we have bread and a boiled egg, right? And the custom is that we dip that hard-boiled egg into ashes, right? Now, of course, before that, you can have a regular meal, right? You don't want to go into the fast, hungry and thirsty, right? But that meal, and water also one could have, but that Sudam HaSeket, that is the meal that we have as we go into, God bless you, as we go into Tisha B'Av. How does Tisha B'Av differ from all the other fasts besides one?
It's a complete fast.
Complete fast, right? It becomes Yom Kippur like, okay? Whereas all the other fasts, when does it begin?
the day of.
Yes. So sunrise, right, is one, right? But there's a period of time before that called Alot HaShachar, right? The morning light. And that's typically 72 minutes before actual sunrise. Okay, so that's when it begins with the very beginning of day with Alot HaShachar, the morning light.
Oh, so that's why uh, it'll start like around 4 o'clock ish, somewhere around there before the sun comes out.
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
I know.
Depending on where we are, in the year. But it begins with Alot HaShachar, with that morning sun, that morning light, right? Which again, about more than an hour before actual sunrise. Whereas here, when does the fast begin?
Sundown.
Yeah.
Sundown. Right? We don't wait till Tzeta Kochavim. We'll wait till the stars come out for the fast to end. Right? But it begins with sunrise. With Shabbos, we have the same thing, right? Did I lose that? Shabbos, we have the same thing, right? That we have that period from sunset to the stars come out. That is a in between zone. Is it day or is it night? On Friday, we have to treat it as night. It's already Shabbos. On Saturday, we have to treat it as day. So Shabbos only ends after. So too with a fast like Tisha B'Av, right? Yom Kippur. So it'll start, right? We stop eating before sunset, but we won't resume eating until after the stars come out. Okay, so on Yom Kippur, I'm sorry. So Tisha B'Av is Yom Kippur like in which ways? Right, it's a 25-hour fast. What else?
No leather shoes.
No leather shoes. Good.
No bathing.
No bathing. So what do we do? We need to wash our hands in the morning.
To the knuckles.
Up to the knuckles. Right, up to the knuckles. The full fingers up to the knuckles. Typically, we wash hands in the morning. It goes until where?
The wrist.
Up to the wrist.
Do we do the blessing? The bless your life?
Yes, yes. Davening is regular, except that.
We add leukemia and lamentation.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So we'll read the book of Eicha at night, right? Book of Lamentations, right? We also add in keynote, which are different laments, as part of the davening at night. That'll be Wednesday night, right? And also Thursday morning, it's a longer davening. We don't say all the keynote, we say select ones. We talk about them, right? So that is that. And also we don't put on our tefillin, right? Or talis in the morning, right? But when will we wear our talis and tefillin? At mincha. At mincha, right? Because talis and tefillin, right, only during the day, never at night. Right? So at mincha, we'll put on our talis and our tefillin, right? Yeah.
Rabbi,
For
Rabbi,
Yes.
aren't you also for Tisha B'Av supposed to sit at a lower level until
Yes.
around
Yes.
noon?
Yes. Until chatzot of Tisha B'Av, until midday of Tisha B'Av, right? We also in the shul will be on right, the chairs will be on the floor. Right? We sit on the floor, we sit on a low stool, like a mourner, the same way that an avel sits in a lower area. Okay? So there's no washing, there's no perfume, stuff like that. There is no husband and wife, right? Not only is there no marital relations, but it's viewed as if the couple is in a nida situation. So the beds need to be separated or sleep in separate beds. Yeah. And no leather shoes. Correct. Yeah. So.
No swimming.
So the swimming will be during all the 9 days.
Yeah, I don't think we said that one.
Okay. Yeah. So swimming, there was some confusion. Some guys were yeah. Swimming is under the category of bathing. Right. So some say, can you swim during the 3 weeks? Right? There's no problem swimming during the 3 weeks. There's no problem of bathing, during the 3 weeks. But during the 9 days, thank you, yeah, Mary, yeah, during the 9 days where we have the issue of bathing, so that would also include swimming, right? But for the kids to spray each other with a water gun, something like that, to cool off a little bit. I know when now is running camp, so they would have staff car wash, right? So all the kids would wash the cars, and have a chance to splash one another and get on
Sounds like a great fundraiser.
and cool off a little bit. Yeah.
So little kids shouldn't be in a pool or anything during that time, because like Malka's in a camp right now, a summer camp, and they're
And they swim.
yeah, they're swimming like every day.
Yeah, little kids in this heat, I would not. You're talking
I'm talking about London, but we call her Malka now because that's her people.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so she's used to it, and the teachers call her.
Okay, Malka.
I know. When I said that, I was like, I forgot he doesn't know.
I didn't know Malka. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So, I wouldn't make an issue out of it. Yeah. It's super hot out.
What are some practical ways that we can mourn, during this time? Like how do you do that?
My go-to is a book, Hasidic Tales of the Holocaust, by Yafa Eliach, which is just uplifting and depressing at the same time.
Well, that's the other thing. You can't study Torah, right? You have to
On Tisha B'Av itself, yes.
only like morning.
So those 9 days we can still like review
Yes.
Torah and-
Yes.
Okay.
That's only on Tisha B'Av itself.
Rabbi, could you repeat the name of the book?
Hasidic Tales of the Holocaust by Professor Yafa Eliach, Eliach.
What about work for Tisha B'Av?
On Tisha B'Av, so ideally when we're not going to work. If one needs to, then after Chatzot one would, but ideally not. Yeah. Okay, guys, we'll call it over here. I think it's davening time. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi. Welcome back.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome.
Hi, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You won't be at Berkeley today. Nope. All right. Yeah.